Over the weekend, we've been monitoring and watching the breakout slowly pull away from the main flow pad and establish itself as what we're calling as of this morning the new flow front. So that breakout has, again, pulled away from the existing flow pad or the original flow pad, moving in a northeast direction, a little more north than northeast, and still following one of the identified paths of steepest descent. Over the last 24 to 36 hours, it has advanced several hundred yards. From yesterday afternoon till this morning, estimated between 350 to 400 yards. Very narrow, estimated at the leading edge about 50 to 75 yards wide. There's some photos on our Facebook page and the Civil Defense website that shows how active that particular new flow is. There was a fairly significant ribbon of lava this morning moving down slope, very visible with a slightly wider flow front, like I said, about 50 to 75 yards as it was kind of panning out or widening there. So it is advancing. At the current position right now as of this morning, it was about 2.9 miles. And as a reference, we're now referring to the intersection of Highway 130 and the Pahoa Village Road as the reference point. That does not in any way imply that that's the likely point of where the flow would advance to, but at least it's a reference point that the community can identify with and gauge where the flow is located roughly. The other reason why we're not using the Pa'a Street area anymore is that it appears that it's moving in a direction that would either run parallel to Pa'a Street, so therefore not moving in a direction towards Pa'a Street. So again, it has advanced. It's still active. We're going to be doing another flight later this afternoon. HVO is also doing a flight, I believe, at noon today. We did see another breakout upslope. That one has not advanced very far off of the existing flow pad. Again, some burning on the edges. And along the south side of the flow pad, just limited burning, very light burning, no advancing breakouts or anything there. So for those that might have been concerned with any possible threat to like the Ko'ohi area, any activity that for us showed any indication that there was a breakout moving towards the Pa'a area, Ko'ohi Homesteads area along the south side. So the most vigorous and active activity was along the north side and with that new, what we're calling the new flow, advancing flow front. Smoke conditions are relatively light to moderate. The winds are favorable, again, blowing the smoke in kind of a southeast direction, so down towards the Kalapana area. So not a whole lot of smoke in the residential areas. It's still in the same areas that we had brush fires, but fortunately the vegetation is fairly wet. And it was raining yesterday and again this morning, so no brush fire threat. And again, no imminent threat or immediate threat to the community's downslope. So I'm open to any questions you may have at this time.
Hi, Daryl. Tom, the Tribune Herald. It looks like the path the steepest descent that's on would take it through the Malama Market area if it stays on that path. Is that correct?
That's correct. To the extent that there are two paths of steepest descent that will eventually be very close to one another, and it might be premature to say that it's going to stay on this particular path with any real, confidence. As you know, Steve and his team have been really good about explaining is that further downslope there is a point at which at least two of the paths of steepest descent are very close to each other. Now, whether or not that will change the possible track or path, that's yet to be seen as it approaches that area. But for now, the path that is marked on the maps that the flow is currently following does follow the terrain and topography down to the Malama Market area.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Daryl Brooks at KITV, and I apologize for asking what may seem like an obvious question to you, but sometimes this will get a good soundbite that we can use. You've decided to call this the new flow front. What's the distinction? What's happened with this flow that allows you to give it that new distinction, that new label as its own flow?
Well, from a civil defense perspective, it has broken away from the existing flow pad and has advanced a significant distance to where, again, my impression or civil defense perspective, It appears to be receiving a large volume of the supply that's coming down slope to where it, again, we're anticipating it to continue to move as long as it is being supplied and continue to be somewhat focused and moving as a uniform flow front rather than a series of breakouts along the flow pad. This appears to be independent or now has broken away from the flow pad and receiving sufficient material or lava to continue on its track. I'm not sure if that helps to answer the question.
Oh, that.
Hi, Daryl. Tom again at Trib. I was able to bring up the map, and I see that the other steepest line descent appears like if it did follow that path, would take it towards Aina Loa. Is that correct?
Yeah, I guess like I said, it's at one point downslope, the two closest or in proximity paths of steepest descent do almost come together, and that's where until it gets to that point, it's difficult to say with any certainty which track it may take. It may even take its own track. It's hard to say, but right now, I think we've been very fortunate with the tools that HVO has provided us with, and looking at those paths of steepest descent. With the original lava flow, they have, or it has followed those paths pretty well. But again, at some point in the near future, they will get very close together, and it's uncertain if it'll stay on one or move to the other.
I see. But the other one would follow a different track, more towards the Aina Loa area, it appears. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. More in that north direction.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, this is Mike from HVO. I just wanted to clarify. It's actually that path would not take it to Aina Loa. It veers off to the east before it reaches Aina Loa.
Is there any particular community that would be more threatened if it did go on that path?
Well, all of the sort of area downslope from Paradise Park through Pahoa is potentially impacted by these flow lines or these steepest descent paths that we've calculated, and it's really difficult to say, especially when it gets to these areas that sort of have a low slope where lava lines intersect, which one it will eventually decide to follow. It may follow multiple ones. It may split and follow two, and then the advance rate would drop because you're splitting among different ways. So it's pretty hard to tell at this point which one it will eventually go into, if only one. But certainly, all of the things that we've been saying for the past few months remain in play in terms of where this may eventually impact.
Daryl, Denise Laitman here. Given that it's moving about 400 yards, 300 yards a day, what is the estimated time frame that you have for it to actually reach 130 or Malama Market?
Well, I'll be just doing a mathematical calculation based on 2.9 miles and roughly about a quarter mile per day and coming up with a figure there. But I think as we've seen in the past, when it's so far out, it's difficult to say that would be an accurate assessment as things could change. But that would just be a rough calculation right there. So we're looking at 6-8 days possibly if it stayed at its current rate of advancement, or if it slowed down, that would change it as well.
Gotcha.